AITA, am I the a-hole for telling my kids the real reason their mother has been crying lately? I have a 23-year-old son who is married and currently staying with us due to financial issues, and a 19-year-old daughter who is home from college. My wife has been having bouts of crying recently. She just began menopause, so I'm sure that has something to do with it, but I do think there are underlying issues that the hormones brought out. She has told me that she feels like she wasted her life, because she was a stay-at-home mom and she is not happy with how the children turned out. We are both Palestinian. She was born in Israel and I was born in the US, but neither of us wanted our children to be too westernized. She feels like she failed to keep the balance and that our children have no respect for their culture. Our son married a white woman, we don't care about that, left Christianity, and his wife is a very vocal atheist. My wife can't stand having her in the house. Our daughter considers herself a political activist and has turned her back on everything her mother has taught her. My wife got into a little fight with our DIL last night over mascara, I wish I was kidding, and stormed off in tears. Our daughter made a comment about how high maintenance her mom is and I told them both to leave her alone, she is going through a lot. My son wanted to know, so I was honest that she feels like they've turned their backs on our culture and that she is disappointed. Now both kids are mad at their mother and my wife is mad at me, but I still think they deserve to know. You chose to bring your kids to be raised in a country that prioritizes individual choice and freedom, yet you somehow expected them to not be influenced by any of that surrounding them and be happy to be micromanaged and live in a culture that's foreign to them forever? That's a bit unrealistic. They haven't turned their backs on their culture, they've turned their backs on your culture and your control. It is disappointing when kids want to make their own choices, but that's to be expected of kids who were raised in the US. Cut the drama, stop putting the blame on your kids, take some responsibility and live your own life. You'll all be happier, wife, you, the kids. YTA. You're the a-hole. Oh no, your kids have thoughts and opinions of their own? Your son doesn't want to be a part of organized religion? Your daughter is an activist? Wow, you guys really frocked them up. YTA. You're the a-hole. And you know what? She's the a-hole too. She sounds overbearing. Are your kids on drugs? Are they in jail for sexual assault? Murder? Kidnapping? No. But she doesn't like them because they're not practicing the religion she wants them to practice and they care about social and political issues more than organized religion and making mommy and daddy proud. Frock that. YTA and your wife. Basically you two are lamenting that your children aren't your clones and have their own independent thoughts and beliefs. YTA, but not for the reasons you think. You're minimizing her anguish here by blaming it on hormones. Maybe there's a part of that which is accurate, but hormones affect the intensity of the emotion experienced, not the thoughts which initially create them. Your wife sounds filled with regret and remorse, a precursor to depression, so you'd do well to help her get to a professional who can assess and treat this. Oh my God, so let me get this straight. Your wife is so racist it's literally making her depressed that her children aren't? Normally, I would never to say this to anyone suffering from depression, but grow up. Your problems are not actual problems. YTA. YTA. You're basically saying that their mother doesn't like them because they aren't conservative enough. Because they don't follow the same political views as she does. You pretty much literally told your kids that their mother doesn't like them because they don't believe the same things she does. As a child of immigrants, I've never understood how immigrant parents can expect their children to be aligned with another country's values than the one they were raised and immersed in their whole lives. Thankfully my parents let me be as American as I happen to turn out, but I've seen friends have relationships with their parents destroyed because their parents can't let go of the idea that their kids have to be more of X or Y country/culture. Your wife is the worst a-hole for being disappointed in her kids not being exactly what she wanted and showing it in such a way. It's deeply upsetting to know that your parents fundamentally dislike who you turned out to be. You're not a good parent if you're going to resent your children for choosing their own belief/life paths just because they don't align with what you wanted for them. YTA. For letting your kids know she felt that way instead of talking to her and trying to work through it in healthy ways. Your kids are probably decent human beings, and for their mom to dislike and resent them for something so arbitrary and unreasonable is so sad for them. I feel for your kids. YTA. If she wanted to share, she would. You're her partner, and if she is venting, then the hope is that you aren't going to tell the people she is venting about what she said. YTA. I'm so sick to death of people who raise kids in the West and expect them to be the same as if they'd been raised in their country of origin. This mentality breaks up families constantly, and it's just plain stupid. YTA. You're both whining because your kids are more forward thinking than you. YTA. Your kids being westernized is a natural consequence of your decision to raise your children in a Western country. Your wife can be upset about it all she wants, but she needs to keep it to herself. The kid's nothing wrong. YTA. I grew up with family from various parts of the world, including Arabs. I still remember how my uncle's mother treated his American wife and her American grandchildren, my little cousins, whom I was very close to. I remember how she treated those of her kids that she thought were too American. Seriously, she used the word American like an insult. Kinda like you are using the word westernized. It wasn't pretty, and eventually she reaped exactly what she had sown. Since I wasn't blood related to her, she was even more hateful to my brother and I, but that's a different story. Heads up, dude, you are about to lose your children as well as your grandchildren, if they choose to have kids, if you haven't already done irrevocable damage. YTA. It was your wife's decision to decide if and when she had this conversation with your kids, and to be honest, this is something she should have worked through with a therapist instead of talking to your kids about. Your kids didn't do anything wrong by being more liberal than your wife wanted, and since there's nothing they can or should do to change that, they shouldn't have been burdened with the information that disappoints their mom. Apologize and see if your wife would be interested in talking to a professional about this. YTA. They made their own choices, you can't control that. The most you can do is accept it. I'm assuming they were raised in the US, please correct me if I'm wrong on that, but working off that assumption, they were raised in a country where personal choice is highly valued. How could they not be affected, or is it affected? You get the point anyway, hopefully, by that? And no, it's not their culture that they turned away from, it's you culture. YTA. You can't benefit from Western culture by living in a Western country while expecting your kids will turn out as if they lived in Palestinian territories. You don't get to have your cake and eat it too. Info. If you didn't want your children to be westernized, why did you bring them up in a Western country? I've never understood this. I have known a few immigrants during my life who just constantly complain about America and how awful it is, and how back home people were more respectful/intelligent/friendly/private/etc. Then why are you here? There are other countries you can go to. I realize America has some of the laxest immigration laws in the world, but still. We have enough problems as it is. Don't come here and live with us and tell us how awful we are. I also don't understand the people who refuse to learn English. I can't imagine going through life, not being able to communicate with most of the population. I'm Israeli and I'm dating a mixed American man who's not Jewish and not Israeli. I understand the fear of cultural loss in children. At the end of the day, the most important part is that the kids are happy and healthy. No. It's hard for me to try to accept that too, and being westernized has been a huge fear in my family for a long time, really screwed me up as a kid. I hope the situation improves. Maybe remind your wife that the family is more important than the background. I understand the challenge. It would be hard for me too. YTA. You should count your stars. Your children came out better than you did. They are not racist, sexist, close-minded, spineless people like their parents are. Your wife needs professional help. Your children and Dill have done nothing wrong. Elderly does not mean you are automatically right. Elderly does not mean you automatically can keep being respected after you've been disrespectful. No blind worship of people and ideologies. Tradition and culture do need to change. Tradition and culture can be backwards. They have moved the hands on the clock forward. Yes, I am born in the States. My parents are from Latin America and I correct my mother's statements on anything remotely Eurocentric, stop tanning, you're getting too dark, and my mom wants me to coddle my brother who is a man. On his own. My brother rejects those notions, but we love each other dearly and show our love in healthier ways that aren't rooted in submissiveness for men. I'm so happy your son and daughter have moved on and I hope they move on further way. Catch up or you'll be left behind. Rightfully so. Also yes, your reasoning is wrong. Your wife's reasons to be upset are wrong. Menopause can completely change a person, a disposition outside of their control. It was completely inappropriate what you said. You should have said, Mom is going through some changes but we'll see a professional and get her the help she needs. In the meantime, can you both split house duties to take some off their plate? I need you all to work as a team. Let them take initiative to create an organization and cleaning chart that works for them, include the Dill. Let her be given responsibilities and roles that aren't rooted in sexism but based on who likes what. Some people like cooking, some like cleaning or washing dishes, etc. Your children are adults or near adults and it's time you adapt to that. If your household is based on traditional roles to the extent I think it is, you think because you're the breadwinner that's it, your role is over at home. I wonder who did all the chores and child rearing. Traditional roles are okay if both people know their options and choose to do so. They know it's not the end all, be all. They know and accept it's not the only way to live. Get your wife to a doctor to deal with menopause, get her a therapist and then do couples therapy. You both need it and that's okay. You're not used to being challenged but hopefully it's not too late for you. YTA. What possible purpose did that serve to say that? Why not support your wife by encouraging her to see a therapist to discuss these concerns? And tell your son and Dill to back the hell off considering that they are freeloaders at this point. That's a tough one, because although I think your wife is wrong, hello, congrats on raising independent and free-thinking children, it's kind of a goal. I do think it helps for your kids to know what she's feeling so they can perhaps be more sensitive to her while not giving in. Kind of swinging an AH. No a-holes here. You're not really an a-hole and your kids definitely aren't. Your wife needs an attitude adjustment though. NTA. Not the a-hole for being honest with your kids. YTA. You're the a-hole for expecting your kids to be the way you are. If you didn't want westernized kids you shouldn't have raised them in the West. My husband is from the Middle East, raised here though, he was orphaned early on but his uncle and aunt taught him how to cook Middle Eastern food, took him to mosques and mosque classes all the time, they taught him a lot, he keeps a lot in his day-to-day, he isn't following the religion the way they do, my dads are gay, his uncle didn't force him or care that he married a non-Arab girl. Most of his kids married people who were born here, but they don't share things like that with their family. Back home. His uncle is a hardcore Republican, socially and financially conservative, my husband is as liberal as it gets. Things my husband kept, religion, in a love everyone because God is forgiving sense and in a praying in the mosque when he can sense, food/recipes, language, he speaks Arabic, reads and writes it, and the culture of caring for family/neighbors/friends and being there for them regardless of anything else. It's annoying because he regularly checks on neighbors. We're in NYC, so that is awkward to me. Religious holidays, 2 a year, and Ramadan. Things my husband didn't keep. Religion, in the everyone should believe what I believe or they're condemned to hell sense. Sexist culture/traditions, way of dress, way of speaking, knows Arabic but speaks English everywhere, unless the person he's speaking to only knows Arabic. Holidays that are national to his home country, anti-alternate lifestyle stigma. Do his uncle and aunt feel like they failed them? Do they feel like they lost them? No. They communicate with them, even with me, the white daughter of 2 dads. Hell, the uncle and one of my dads are best friends. The uncle isn't even in the country now and is still in touch with one of my dads. The uncle knows I'm agnostic and doesn't mind. He knows my dads are atheists/agnostic and doesn't mind, and my husband's uncle was neither born nor raised here. He came here in his late 20s. Does it make his uncle any less of a Muslim or Arab in that he accepts us? No. He's secure in his beliefs that it doesn't matter what anyone else believes or does. And therein lies the problem with your wife. You're not secure with your own beliefs. To think someone has to be a replica of you is borderline narcissistic. I think family therapy is in order. If your wife doesn't like how they turned out, and they're part of the reason she's distressed, the 3 kids can move out and share an apartment so they can live their own lives without stressing your wife out. Between the 3, I'm sure they can afford it. Otherwise they can keep their vocal views that their mom doesn't enjoy to themselves. A person's home is their refuge. Although I don't agree with your wife's stance, she's entitled to feel happy in her own home. If it means the kids need to leave the nest, goodbye kids. Either way, therapy, therapy, therapy. Info: can you elaborate on the fight about mascara? Dil was using my wife's mascara. My wife got upset because that's unsanitary and really it's just rude. My wife yelled at her that she is so disrespectful and Dil told her to chill because it's just mascara. Unpopular ESH. Everybody sucks here. I don't think those commenting even remotely get what you're going through or why your kids might be the assholes. I'm Palestinian, and I really care about my culture and traditions. But, I didn't marry a Palestinian, let alone an Arab. It took years to get my parents to come around, and it sucked. You brought your kids here but wanted them to hate everything about living here, which makes no sense. I think that you as a family need to sit down and listen to each other. Ask your kids what matters to them and what doesn't. There's way more in common there than you think, and it may help your wife a bit. Them marrying outside your culture isn't a betrayal. They are their own people. Trust that they'll be okay. But, something most commentators are missing and why I said ESH is your house, your rules. I think if you are religious folks, your kids need to be respectful of that in your household. It's bonkers that everyone thinks it's okay to live with someone and be derisive of their values. Your wife is understandably super sensitive right now. That'll get better with time. But it seems there's more here that you'll all need to talk through. Don't be the reason your son loses his wife and don't set a bad example for your daughter. Work together to set ground rules. It'll make things so much easier.